Massive explosions ripped through Moscow's skyline as Ukrainian drones struck deep inside the city, hitting the heart of Russia's most iconic and heavily fortified financial hub. The attack targeted the towering skyscrapers of Moscow City, a gleaming district that has long stood as a symbol of Russia's power, wealth, and technological ambition. What began as a quiet evening soon turned into chaos as flames erupted from the upper floors of the billion-dollar business complex. The world watched in shock as video after video showed drones flying low and fast through the capital's night sky before slamming into high-rise structures with pinpoint precision. The fiery impact illuminated the skyline and sent shockwaves through Russia's political and military circles. This was not just another strike, it was a direct message from Ukraine, demonstrating that even Moscow's most protected areas were no longer untouchable. The aftermath was surreal. Firefighters battled towering flames while glass, steel, and debris rained down on the streets below. Emergency sirens echoed through the city as security forces cordoned off the area. The smoke that billowed from the towers could be seen for miles, rising like a dark reminder of the war that had once seemed distant from Russia's core. The psychological impact on ordinary citizens was immense. Many Muscovites believed the war was confined to the front lines in Ukraine. But as the sound of drones and explosions filled the night, the reality of modern warfare came crashing into their own backyard. The message was clear: nowhere was safe, not even the capital. Inside the towers, chaos unfolded in seconds. Workers described how the walls trembled, windows exploded inward, and lights flickered before the power went out completely. The panic was immediate as alarms blared and people scrambled to escape. Some found themselves trapped in smoke-filled corridors, relying only on phone flashlights to find exits. Others huddled in stairwells, coughing and gasping as they tried to make sense of what had just happened. For many, it was a terrifying reminder that this was not a movie scene but the real consequences of a war that had spiraled beyond anyone's imagination. Despite Russia's claims of tight air defense and sophisticated warning systems, the drones had slipped through effortlessly, hitting their targets with surgical accuracy. The strike on the $1.2 billion Moscow City towers was more than just a tactical success, it was symbolic warfare at its finest. The towers represented the strength and stability of modern Russia, housing major banks, multinational corporations, and even key government offices. Their destruction was a direct blow to Russia's image of invulnerability. For years, Moscow had portrayed itself as impenetrable, protected by layers of advanced air defense systems like the S-400 and Panzer S. Yet on that night, a handful of small, relatively inexpensive drones bypassed those defenses and delivered one of the most embarrassing blows to Russian prestige in recent memory. The sound of the explosions didn't just echo through the city, it reverberated across the entire world. Ukraine's use of long-range drones has transformed the nature of this war. Unlike traditional air raids or missile strikes, these drones are stealthy, agile, and incredibly difficult to detect. Built with lightweight composite materials and powered by efficient engines, they can travel hundreds of kilometers while flying low enough to avoid radar detection. Many of these drones are developed domestically or adapted from commercial models, modified to carry explosive payloads. Ukrainian engineers and technicians have spent months perfecting their designs, blending low cost with high efficiency. What makes this especially remarkable is that the cost of one of these drones is a fraction of the damage it can inflict. Reports suggest that each drone costs between $20,000 to $50,000. Yet in this single operation, they inflicted losses worth hundreds of millions. The tactical brilliance of this strike lay in its precision. Rather than targeting civilian zones, Ukraine focused on high-value economic and symbolic targets that would send a message without causing mass casualties. The drones approached from multiple directions, confusing Russian radar operators and overwhelming their defense response. Some drones were intercepted, but several managed to slip through, hitting key structures in rapid succession. The timing was perfect, just as Moscow prepared for a new work week, ensuring that the psychological impact would be maximum. For Ukrainian planners, this was a masterstroke of asymmetric warfare. With limited resources, they managed to pierce through one of the most defended cities on Earth. As investigators combed through the wreckage, Russian officials scrambled to downplay the event. State media called it a terrorist provocation and insisted that air defenses had prevented greater damage. Yet even they couldn't hide the footage flooding social networks, showing black smoke pouring from shattered skyscrapers. Independent analysts suggested that the attack exposed critical flaws in Russia's layered air defense strategy. The systems that once guarded Moscow with pride appeared outdated against small, low-signature drones that could maneuver unpredictably. This was a technological wake-up call for Russia, a realization that traditional anti-air defenses are no longer enough in the era of drone warfare. For Russia, the embarrassment was profound. The Moscow city complex was supposed to represent the future of the nation, modern, prosperous, and invincible. Now, it stood scarred and smoldering. The symbolism was devastating. Ukraine, a country under constant bombardment, had managed to hit back at the very heart of the aggressor. This was not just about physical damage but psychological dominance. Ukraine had shown that it could strike deep inside Russian territory at will. The Kremlin's attempts to project strength suddenly looked fragile. For the Russian public, the illusion of safety had been shattered. For the international community, it proved that Ukraine's resilience and innovation remained unmatched. What makes Ukraine's drone strategy particularly effective is its adaptability. These are not massive, complex systems built in secret laboratories, they are the products of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and necessity. Each strike is a lesson learned, each drone a prototype refined through real-world combat experience. Ukrainian forces are mastering electronic warfare tactics, satellite guidance, and real-time coordination between intelligence units and drone operators. This decentralized, flexible approach is a stark contrast to Russia's rigid, top-down military command structure. It allows Ukraine to react faster, innovate quicker, and strike smarter. The Moscow attack also highlights the growing role of technology in redefining modern warfare. Wars are no longer fought solely with tanks, jets, and artillery. Now, precision drones, cyber attacks, and artificial intelligence play just as crucial a role. What Ukraine demonstrated is that innovation can level the playing field against a much larger opponent. With a handful of small machines, they achieved what conventional bombardments could not, a blow to the morale and image of the enemy. And the implications reach far beyond Moscow. Nations around the world are watching closely, realizing that the future battlefield will be dominated not by size but by intelligence, adaptability, and automation. In the wake of the strike, questions arose about Russia's next move. Would it retaliate with greater force, or would it invest heavily in counter-drone technology? The immediate response was predictable: more air defense deployments, increased surveillance, and renewed propaganda efforts to reassure citizens. Yet behind closed doors, analysts believe the Kremlin is deeply alarmed. If Ukraine can hit Moscow City today, what will stop it from targeting critical energy infrastructure or military command centers tomorrow? The fear of vulnerability is spreading fast among Russia's elite, who once viewed the war as a distant conflict confined to Ukrainian soil. The financial losses are still being calculated, but early estimates suggest damages exceeding hundreds of millions of dollars. The destroyed sections of the towers contained offices for major corporations, foreign investors, and state-linked businesses. For the Russian economy, already weakened by sanctions, this is another severe blow. Insurance companies face unprecedented claims, while global investors are reconsidering their presence in what was once a symbol of Moscow's economic might. The cost of rebuilding will be immense, but the loss of confidence may prove even more expensive. Yet for Ukraine, the price of success remains remarkably low. A single drone mission costing a few tens of thousands achieved a strategic and psychological outcome that missiles worth millions could not. This balance of cost and effect represents a fundamental shift in military economics. Small, cheap, intelligent weapons can now rival the destructive potential of traditional arsenals. It's a lesson that every major power will study closely in the years ahead. As the smoke cleared and morning light revealed the full scale of the damage, the world could see that this was more than a military strike, it was a symbol of transformation in modern warfare. Ukraine had turned adversity into innovation, demonstrating that creativity can triumph over brute force. The towers of Moscow, once a gleaming symbol of dominance, now stood as a reminder that no amount of wealth or armor can guarantee safety in the age of drones. The attack redefined the meaning of power, showing that the future belongs not to those with the biggest weapons, but to those with the sharpest minds. This event will be remembered as a pivotal moment in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, not because of the scale of destruction but because of what it represents. It marks the dawn of a new era where technology and determination can overcome numerical superiority. The message Ukraine sent that night was unmistakable: the fight is not just about territory, it's about resilience, intelligence, and the will to adapt. And in that realm, Ukraine continues to lead. As the war evolves, so too does the understanding of what it means to be powerful. The skies over Moscow prove that the future of warfare is already here, and it's being written one drone at a time.